The podcast you're about to hear was made with Anchor. You can use Anchor to make a podcast right from your phone, no experience necessary. Plus, it's completely free. Get the app at anchor.fm/podcast.
Welcome to No BS Coaching Advice. I'm your host, Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm called the Big Game Hunter because I coach people and organizations to play big. Recently, I was coaching someone who had missed a session with me. We'd scheduled it, it was confirmed, and he just didn't show up. And I texted and called, and he didn't respond. And as it was coming up on our next session, that morning, I texted him and said, I don't know if we have a session this evening. Let me know. Whatever you decide is fine. He responded by letting me know he wanted the session. And I started by asking him, what happened? And he started to talk about how he was embarrassed that he had miscalculated his finances and when he was due to be paid. And, it wasn't just me that was affected, but it was others. And, I'll simply fast forward and say he listened to that voice in his head that was so powerful from a time earlier in life where he got the message that he was a screw-up. And then, the result of this is, on the one hand, he feels like a screw-up, and then he doesn't take action, and then he feels like a screw-up because he missed the call. And the result winds up being he's in a no-win position. He'd fed that part of his mind that had been there to protect him from screwing up, but of course had now put him into the loop of screwing up and feeling embarrassed about it. There was no way to win. I bring up this story because each of us, shall we say, wants to think of ourselves as perfect, but we aren't. We strive for excellence, or should be striving for excellence, not perfection. As human beings, we make mistakes. That's the reality to it. And we want to improve from it, learning our lessons, but not going into punishment mode, not punishing ourselves for making mistakes, but learning from them and growing. I'm that way. I suspect many of you who listen to this are that same way too. And I just want to encourage you, if you notice that pattern for yourself, your version of what this guy goes through and what I go through, pause for a second and go, there's that voice again. It wants me to be perfect. It wants to protect me from something, but it really isn't doing a particularly good job. And start working at coming up with a different strategy for yourself, because all that happens for this guy, and perhaps for you, is that he winds up being in a bind where he can't win, where he becomes embarrassed that he didn't talk to the other person and take proactive steps to let people know that there was a problem, and look out for himself in this way. You see, that voice claims to look out for him, but it really doesn't. And that's the problem to it. Hope you found this helpful. I'll be back soon with more. In the meantime, have a great day.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.